It's cool, bro. Man, listen, I hope you find the countdown, bro. Because you ain't going to find that shit, but go ahead.
Hold up, man. Let me see. Twitch says the title's invalid. Try changing it. Nigga, I don't give a fuck. Let's go ahead. Man, so you know, one of my homies was asking. I was just busting out laughing, reading some stupid shit that you put on your page, and somebody, yes, Elgin, your dumbass page. So one of the homies asked me, said, "Is that one of your friends that you're talking to?" I said, I guess. He's like, I don't know if I'm really kicking, but
Thursdays about 8:30.
usually that motherfucker is my nemesis. Is what I told him. He's your nemesis. I was like, yeah, you got to keep your friends closer, your enemies closer.
No doubt.
Yeah,
very own Lex Luthor.
No joke. So Phil, man, I know that your clown ass. This must be you, because I just saw a video the other day, or an article the other day about your man Kanye throwing his damn Grammy in the toilet and urinating on it. I said that sounds like some artistically ridiculous shit to be doing. So I said I know Phil's all on top of that shit.
Man,
what's it with your hands, dog?
Look. No, that's your people's, because
Eddie said that the contract he presented was tantamount to slavery, and I'm like, isn't this the same dude that said slavery was a choice? So you've been sitting here being, come on, my guy.
Well, he tweeted that again too, not too long before that. But not that I don't disagree with him about the contracts from Universal and Vivendi and all that bull, but I've been done with the stunts. You know what I'm saying? I mean, urinating on your Grammy and all that stuff, and I'm like, come on, brother, you're a father of two, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, get it together. You know what I'm saying? Get like
boy.
I'm like, you have a little black boy there watching you, man. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like,
them Kardashians that get you every time.
That's all I think about. I just feel sorry for the kids.
You know? Yeah, I think Ray J might be the only one who didn't get caught up. He got away. He died.
Yeah, he dodged a bullet and became a man of industry.
It made buckets.
Became a man of industry for real.
So check this out, man. So I was posting earlier today, man. I woke up this morning.
Yeah.
And I looked in the mirror.
God you woke up this morning.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Amen to that.
Because there's some people who didn't wake up today. Go ahead.
You're right. You're right about that. You're right about that. But I looked in the mirror, my guy, and
I'm sorry.
Ooh, thank God this is alive. I love this. I love this live.
I got some shells with your name on it, my
guy. Boy, no chance to edit nothing.
I got some shells with your name
on it. Can't edit, bro.
You're gonna see me like, why is O going to the trunk of his car? That dude Elgin. Nah, but seriously, man, I looked in the mirror this morning and I saw my dad staring right back at me, my guy.
Wow.
And it made me feel some sort of way. So of course I asked our folks, what's been the most revealing part about getting older for you? And I think to a T, everybody was like, that your body aches when you don't think it's supposed to be aching. One dude said that I'm looking at my dad the past 10 years. I've been staring at my dad's face in the mirror too. One homie, shout out to my man OJ. He said, I don't last as long in the bed anymore. I hate being in my 40s.
He must be single. Go ahead.
I think, excuse me, what? What happened? What'd you say?
I said OJ must be single, bro.
Why did you come to, how did you come to that conclusion, sir?
Because as someone who has a mate, you want to do all that you can to make sure that you are lasting and pleasing your partner. But maybe again, his partner might only want that good 30-second pow, 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 pow.
You couldn't get that dude a minute. You said 30 seconds. Come on, my guy.
The game is different out here, bro.
That's disrespectful, my guy.
Folks is getting shit on, and it's just the game is different. It's different out here these days.
Callbacks. Oh Lord. Call back so old.
When I told you that you were the worst, I meant it with all of my heart.
I'm consistent, bro. It's okay. Listen, man. Shout out to OJ, bro.
No doubt. Yes. Yeah. Welcome.
CMOS, OJ CMOS, bro.
We'll put that in the description of the show.
Man, listen.
Just in case you want it. Welcome. What's up? What is up? Back once again. It is the Incredible in the Black podcast. And in case you weren't aware, this is a podcast dedicated to covering the current events and social issues going on in your Black world and covering it all from the perspective of three grown-ass men who know that the Clippers should not have lost to the goddamn Nuggets. Okay. Sorry. I am your host, Big O, Mr. In the Black himself, and we've got a lot to cover in this conversation tonight. But of course, you know I can't do this alone. Crush, say what's up.
What's good, everybody?
Nemesis, say what's up.
Yo. What's good?
And please check us out or follow us across all social media platforms at In the Black PDCST. And if you're checking this out on YouTube, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. It really helps out a lot. And make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss out on the next episode. But before we get into all of that, Boogie, please tell these good folks what's up, man.
Yeah. Why don't you go and ease on down to www.intheblackpodcast.com, man. Take a look at our website, man. And it's important that you click in the right-hand corner, become a member of the family tab. Please. We are doing great work, man. But as often as when somebody is trying to build something from the ground up, as we're doing here, we need assistance, man. So feel free to become a member. You got Patreon. You can buy swag. We take a little bit of everything. If you just want to donate, hit the donate. $ in the Black PTCST. In the Black PDCST. Send us some loot.
No doubt.
This week, we're going to jump into the meat and potatoes of the show, man. We're going to talk about... Actually, I had a friend. So we're going through the black box letter, and I apologize. I got a message from one of our... I'm sorry. Can you ever just let me be me?
I'll be encouraging you, brother. Dark-skinned folks need encouragement more and more these days, bro.
This week's black box letter actually was a message that I got from one of our listeners, man, and his name is Lawrence. Lawrence says, "Hey guys, I don't know if you guys got a chance to see it, but Dak Prescott did an interview where he was talking about the anxiety he's been facing since he committed suicide. I had no clue. I thought it was brave of him to even come out and share that. The unfortunate part is that even opening up about it all, there were people calling him soft and trying to tear him down for it. I know that it shouldn't be shocking, but it's all still troublesome. Did you see it? And what did you think?" So last week, which happened to be Suicide Awareness Week, which started on the 6th and ended on September 12th, I believe, Dak Prescott released an interview that he had done, and Dak Prescott is the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. He did a sit down with Graham Benzinger. And in the interview, he covered a lot of things, but the most pointable things that he covered actually was talking about his mother's battle with colon cancer and his brother's untimely, or I guess his brother's suicide. He said throughout the quarantine, he had begun experiencing anxiety and depression in the days before his brother's suicide. And he talked about the pain and anguish that he's felt ever since. And he talked about the process of not being able to work through the new emotions that he had during this process, and how he's since lost sleep and hadn't been able to sleep at all during this period because everything was just falling on him. I didn't know that he was going through what he was going through, and I'm not saying that we should know. I mean, at this stage, and I think we spoke about it last week on the show too, we live in an age now where we assume that our entertainers, all of their life is on Front Street for us to consume.
Yeah.
But when I heard about it, specifically about his mom battling cancer, and then ultimately the suicide of his brother, it hit me some sort of way. And it wasn't just because of the events of it all, but him articulating how difficult it was for him to put this into words and to be able to deal with the emotions. I know that Elle and I, we've had this conversation before about being able to confide in people and having a sounding board, even if it means just finding someone that's not going to have a conversation or converse with you, but someone that's just going to sit and listen.
Sure.
And
yeah.
it's a learning process, man. And I am proud of him for being brave enough, not only to be able to seek the help that he needs or that he's needed, but also brave enough to be able to speak about it, because through his testimony, hopefully he'll be able to teach other people what to expect and to know that, hey, he's gone through it. He was able to see himself on the opposite side, even if he's still climbing through it, and that it's possible for them to do the same thing. What do you guys think, man?
It was definitely a very, very brave thing he did. And we can only imagine how difficult it must have been to even, process what he was already going through, and then to be bold enough to express it is something that is needed. Especially in this time when emotions are so fragile. So I think he exhibited a tremendous amount of strength.
Go ahead, Elle.
Let me start. I'd be remiss if I didn't start off by saying, fuck the Cowboys. That would be.
You could see the NFL was on for barely how long?
I know.
This dude couldn't let that with no preseason. Gee,
fuck the Cowboys, bro. But let's talk about what he stated. I'm not a Dak Prescott fan. I don't like him. I don't like him as a player. But what he said is hopefully a growing trend amongst Black men, because we need to begin to talk more about our struggles in mental health areas. We saw the same thing with Paul George during the playoffs before, he didn't show up for the game and they lost games of it, all that type of shit. But he came out and said how he was suffering from depression in the midst of being in the pandemic. I, for one, have always felt like Black people in general tend to suffer from a variety of mental illness, whether it be post-traumatic stress disorder, post-traumatic slave disorder. It can be any of those things, but I applaud him for doing it. Now, here's the thing. If I'm Dak Prescott, man, if I'm any motherfucking celebrity nowadays, I'm keeping most of my personal shit to myself, because the same dudes who will applaud you and lift you up in the midst of you playing a game will slaughter you when some real life shit happens, such as you battling with mental illness. So Skip trash ass Bayless. He takes any opportunity to put something out that is just clout chasey type shit, that he just puts something out there that wants to draw people in. He always has some slanderous shit to say about LeBron, some old off the wall extra shit. Even real LeBron haters wouldn't even say some of the shit that Skip says. You know what I mean? But for him to come out and slander Dax and, call into question Dak's manhood, essentially, I think is trash, disrespectful. But I'll applaud Dax for this, man, because again, I don't know if too many Black men who will. Well, let me say this: I've been to therapy. I've been in therapy. Therapy not only saved my life, but probably saved a lot of y'all motherfuckers too, because of the space that I was in. Because it's some shit that I had to go sit on the couch and talk to a little skinny white dude about, and it helped.
How did you feel walking into it? I think that's
I
probably one
felt
of the biggest things
angry,
because a lot
bro.
of
I
people.
was pissed off because I felt like my manhood was being assaulted because I felt like because I've been conditioned.
Oh, you weren't.
What?
Were you forced into doing it?
Let me. I'm gonna tell you, I
Okay.
wasn't. Yes, in ways I was forced into it because of where I was with my behavior at that time. I was displaying all the different types of angry, violent tendencies. So people who were around me who cared for me was on some like, yo, you need to get this shit checked out, or we checking out, type of stuff.
Wow.
No.
So for me, the manhood component was the fact that I've been conditioned as a black man to feel like I can carry the weight of the world on my shoulders. That every problem that I face internally, I am not only the solution to my own problems, but in many circles nowadays, not only are black men the problem, we also supposed to be the ones that fix our own shit, which is
Yeah.
fascinating to me that
Yeah.
I am not only the problem, but I'm also my own motherfucking solution.
Yeah,
That don't make no damn sense.
Yeah.
But I applaud brothers, black men, who find themselves in difficult spaces to have a inner circle who are going to say, "Hey, how you doing?" and not allow you to give me some bullshit. Well, I'm okay. Nah, bruh. How are you doing? And let's unpack that shit. Everybody who's in my circle that is close to me knows when I ask you how I'm doing. If you give me some okay shit, I'm probably gonna cuss you out and then wait for you to tell me how you are actually doing. But I applaud Dak for this, man. It was a big move on his part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the most interesting parts about this, like I said, we've had these conversations or similar conversations before. I remember we were just talking randomly, I think maybe a show or two ago, and I was just talking to you about how when I was unemployed for almost 2 years and my wife was unemployed for almost 2 years, how nobody in my family knew. I didn't tell my parents, I didn't tell my siblings, we didn't tell her parents or her siblings, nobody. And I don't know necessarily if I don't think we didn't have that conversation like, yeah, this is what we're going to do. It just ended up being that way, right? And my wife did ask me during that process at one point, are you going to tell our parents? I said, nope, I'm not telling them motherfucking soul. And I remember telling you that, and you were like, why the hell didn't you tell somebody? And I was like, it felt
No
like,
answer. Don't have no answer for it.
Well,
no, like in the moment, like going through it, like I felt like a complete and utter failure. And I did not want that shame or embarrassment or the extension of whatever you want to call it. I did not want those. I didn't want to feel those emotions.
It makes perfect sense, bro.
Not to mention that maybe I don't know if it's just me. I would assume that it's not just me, but I've always grown up being told that a man is supposed to handle his problems in silence, get it done and get it over with. It's not about conversing. It's not about sharing your feelings. I will never forget this moment, man. I think it was,
excuse me.
I think it was maybe like a couple of weeks after I had married my wife. And my mom told me, she said, I want you to remember, a woman doesn't want a man that's going to be a complainer or a whiner, somebody who's going to be into all of that. Now, mind you, she comes from a different generation. It's not
No, I dig it. We're not going to talk bad about your mom.
You know, because she'll fight you and me.
Oh, I know. I'm scared of her and your wife.
But the fact that she told me like things like that sat in my head. You know what I mean? And I know that a lot of people, and I'm just talking about from my perspective, talk less about you. I think he lost his mother, if I'm not mistaken, and he lost his brother. And to think about all the emotions that he's going through, because I know part of what he was saying was his brother dealt with or had a front row seat with dealing with his mom as she went through that process, going through chemo and all of that. And he was just trying to focus on football and how bad he felt about the weight that his brother had to carry. And maybe if he was able to carry some of that weight, maybe his brother wouldn't have, like all of that sitting on your shoulders and on your head is like, I can only imagine, man. I can only imagine. Go ahead, Crush. I know you wanted to jump in and say something.
Yeah, because I mean, I've definitely felt, that way, and I think at the core of the despair that I felt in my life was the underlying concern or ideal that I do not want my burden to be anyone else's.
Yeah.
I do not want to put anyone else through what I'm going through. They don't deserve that. I love them too much for that.
Isn't that what I told you, L? Isn't that what I said to you when we had that conversation?
This isn't a burden I want to share, but that in truth, you're denying the very essence of what love and what the very essence of what love and friendship is, and you're kind of smacking your friends in the face.
You're kicking them right in the balls, to be honest.
Yeah, for real. Because like they're gonna, I mean, they have every right to be mad at you for feeling like you want to end your life. Why, man? Because I want to be here. I want you in this life, motherfucker.
Bro, not even just to end your life, but if you going through some stuff in your life, period, some hard shit that you just can't carry alone, and I find out about it, I'm like, hold on, talking about first, I'm gonna try to meet your need. I'm going to try to walk you through the process. I'm going to try to help you out in this as much as I possibly can. I'm going to check on you. I'm going to walk you through all this joint. But the whole time, just know, I'm like, yo, listen, motherfucker, this is not what we do.
Yeah, all this extra, all being extra tough about life. I mean,
bro,
nah, man,
you cold as shit.
Man, you can't be that tough about life, bro, because life will beat you into the earth, and then we'll wonder what happened.
Yeah.
Did anyone know what happened? You know what I'm saying? And I've been there where we wondered what happened.
But we can't dispute the fact that this methodology, this way of thinking is almost in its totality conditioning. And conditioning is hard as shit to break. When this is all you've heard or what you've dealt with or how you've been raised and reared, to all of a sudden do a 180. I mean,
I dig it. But the
know what I
thing
mean?
is, we as men, and we talking about black men at the moment.
Yeah,
we as black men have to begin to do the work, the necessary work to address underlying conditioning and trauma that we've experienced in our childhoods from previous relationships, and we have got to be honest about the shit that we are dealing with, man. But we have been conditioned again to simply work our way through it. And brother, you can't walk it away from trauma. You can't walk trauma off. Trauma will eat you and take your ass alive by 50. You know what I'm saying? It will give you all, bruh. It's not a game, and we play too much with that shit.
Let me ask you a question, man. Some of the backlash that he's gotten, where do you think that stems from? Do you think that it's necessarily just a generational thing, or do you think that it is a societal conditioning that's causing people to be like,
I think it's the number
of shit or whatever?
I think it's a number of components. For one, we view football players as gladiators, real life gladiators, that these folks should be able to part of our appeal for football is the big hits, to see people get hit to the point of injury. So we actually spend time up to 3 hours per game to watch people hit each other as hard as possible for them to get hit and hurt. So we have this mentality that football players are superhuman-esque in what they endure. We have removed a human element to it. So it's that. Then it's also the manhood, masculinity type shit. And that's what I would call toxic masculinity. That shit right there is toxic, where we hold on to these notions that we as men, because we got a penis and two balls, we're able to somehow navigate our ways through the inner workings of some old difficult, dark shit. We're in the midst of a pandemic. Every time we turn around, one of us, black men, are laying dead in the streets. People are rioting and revolting. And you think motherfuckers is not depressed? Like, and then the generational component.
Yeah.
Bro, it's too many layers to that shit just to be trying to do it by yourself. That's why football players, have such a high rate of what? Drug use, pills. And then they take that violence that they practice every day and then can't turn it off. Then you add trauma on top of it. Then you add on drugs and alcohol. You got a fucking walking cocktail full of violence, and you wonder why they slapping people around that they love.
It's one of the reasons why people, former military people that have seen combat, have that same tendency as well. It's a tough
tragic,
world, man. Yeah, it's a tough world. On a yearly basis, over 48,000 people die. More than 48,000 people die by suicide or from suicide. That's more than probably. I think that's more than drunk driving and a whole bunch of other statistics as well. So suicide and suicide watch and suicide awareness is extremely important. For anyone else that's interested in mental health issues or experiencing problems, visit the National Institute of Mental Health, their website. For those that need immediate help, we want to give you this number to call, 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-8255. Help is out there. Help is there if you need it. So I want to also thank Lawrence actually for sending that.
Shout out to Larry for sending us that joint, man. Appreciate you, bro.
You just couldn't call him Lawrence and call it.
Nope. Larry.
Shout out to Lawrence for sending in the message. We really appreciate it. And because we appreciate you sending in the message, man, we're going to send you an In the Black podcast t-shirt. And if you want to get your comments and emails or messages shared on the show, please send us an email to intheblackpodcast@gmail.com. Crush, why don't you go ahead and take it over, man?
All right, no doubt. Well, and a very interesting article came out back on September 9th concerning a new sense of urgency that a scholar strike has taken concerning a move that Trump made for basically to ban or stop all federal training in federal agencies on white privilege and critical race theory. Now, the scholar strike is basically a labor strike that was started by Anthea Butler, a professor from the University of Pennsylvania, and Kevin Gannon, a history professor at the Grandview University. They're more or less a strike that aligns with BLM, and they've been working towards, providing educational motivations and videos and Twitter threads around race issues in support of BLM and other efforts. But when Trump started circulating this letter, basically banning critical race theory, they pretty much took on a different sense of urgency and started to urge their colleagues to fight back against this. And they've signed up about 5,000 people so far for the strike. And I just would like to see what you guys think about how bold Trump had to be to literally call critical race theory anti-American propaganda.
Go ahead, Crush, because I know how. Go ahead, Boogie, because I know how much you hate your man. So.
All right, well, let me start out like I started out the last segment.
And shout out to the educators because they're mad as hell.
Yeah, no bullshit.
Fuck Donald Trump.
What more can you say?
But this is the thing that I want to offer the backdrop on this, particularly when it comes to critical race theory. Critical race theory and white evangelicalism has been in an all-out war for probably the past 10 years because white evangelicals feel as though critical race theory takes away from the so-called gospel. So by saying one of the key
back what?
All right, come on.
Back up. How do they theorize that? How do they square that hole or whatever they call it?
Okay. Because in most Orthodox Christian white evangelicals, the notion is sin is the root and foundation of every ill in the world, including racism. Any ism, sin is the foundation. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So in evangelicals, most Orthodox Christians believe that the only solution to said issue, sin, would be what?
Repentance?
Accepting Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior.
Okay.
So critical race theorists come in and they believe that of a thing called racial realism, or the permanence of racism. Shout out to the late, great Dr. Derek Bell, also known as the father of critical race theory. He came up with the concept of the permanence of racism, meaning racism is not going to go anywhere because it is not a moral or a spiritual issue. It's a foundational issue, meaning it is buried in the very fiber of the country. So in order to get rid of it, essentially, you would have to literally get rid of the whole country. So white evangelicals believe that critical race theory is an attack upon the church, attack upon the gospel. So when Donald Trump comes through and he makes these declarations right around election time, who is he catering to at this moment? He's catering to his base. Who is his base? White evangelicals, white Christians, the Falwoods of the world, all of these white megachurch pastors, that is his base. He is literally trying to get his base riled up in order to push for re-election in November. So here's the thing. I have all types of issues with the 1619 thing that they have put up. I am a proponent of critical race theory. I hold Derek Bell in the highest of regards because I believe what he teaches is a very fundamental, basic approach to what racism is.
Hold on. I want to make sure I'm clear on what you just said. You said
Sure.
You have issues with the 1619 project?
Yeah, I won't dig too deep into that because
that's another show, but that's fine. Go ahead.
Show. Yeah, I applaud the work, the effort they're trying to put in, though. I'll do that. But I just think this is bigger than just critical race theory, 1619, white privilege being taught, diversity, all those things being taught in the workforce. This is another form of assault on folks who are standing up for Blackness. Very similar to what we saw during the civil rights movement. Yep. The president then was doing the same thing. This is standard operating procedure when Black folks begin to rebel and revolt against white supremacy. Everyone should see it clearly as that. It's some bullshit. And again, to reiterate what I said when I first started, fuck Donald Trump.
I think that we would be remiss if we didn't fall back or at least pay close attention to the crux of his argument. He said that teaching this, and I don't think there was really too much delineation in whether it was teaching, having diversity training or specifically about white privilege. But ultimately, he said that this was un-American. It was un-American to teach the dominant I use that term loosely.
No.
Dominant class in this culture that they have a privilege or have these issues that they need to be worked out. So somehow Black people, other people of color, looking for just to have their humanity recognized are somehow not American. And yes. I think one of the biggest parts about that whole argument is that there are a lot of people that subscribe to that, and they probably I know what you're going to say. I don't know how loose. I don't know how if they know how loosely they subscribe to it. Like when you hear that, and it doesn't make you flinch to think that there are a group of people that are telling you that you have offended me. We'll just use offended. We're not going to use. We're not going to go into
watered down. Exactly.
Yeah. And for you to tell them that your offense to them doesn't mean anything. I think that says volume. That speaks volumes, man.
Sure.
That speaks volumes. People that have served this country, that pay taxes like anybody else, that are the fabric of this country, somehow are un-American for asking for their humanity to be recognized. I don't think we can underscore that any more than we have.
Yeah. He exposed his entire soul right there. To deny any discourse on something that is currently affecting the country that you're supposed to be leading, it's the disrespect is blatant, and the arrogance is bone deep. I do hope that these educators can effect some change with this, so bringing the right attention. But yeah, I mean, fuck Trump.
Well, I think part of it that we need to make sure that we're clear about is that this training is actually training that is provided to federal employees.
Yeah.
Okay. So what he's threatening to do at this point is to remove monies from these trainings if this white privilege stance is taught during these trainings. And I think ultimately that they want to remove this diversity race training altogether. At least that seems to be the writing on the wall.
Clearly.
Right. Now, the federal government is probably federal government workers, I think, only account for 1% of the population all across the nation. It's not very large, right? But then you start to think that he's actually trying to push this type of, and I'll say radical thinking into policy for folks like you and me. And why do I say that?
Yep.
The 1619 Project is ultimately, in many cases, being taught in high schools and colleges and so on.
It is now, yes.
He has threatened to have Betsy DeVos, the head of the Department of Education,
who is trash,
also extreme. She's hot dumpster water. To have
pure basura.
To have her remove funding from schools that implement or impact the 1619 Project in their lessons. I think that can't be understated either. That says a lot.
I mean, the pushback was unbelievable. They were almost, he was almost hot about it. I'm like, you're almost getting emotional about this, yo. And
I think the one thing though is there hasn't been enough talk about this because it is an assault,
definitely not,
on what is taking place across the country, across the world, where folks are tired of anti-Black behavior are standing up. This is literally a fight against Black folks rebelling and revolting against white supremacy. He's being incredibly consistent, though. This is what he's done the whole time he's in office. He caters. I've never seen a politician cater better to their base than this dude does.
But this move was almost kind of scramble like.
Why do you say that?
I mean, to blatantly threaten funds for a specific. He didn't even try to, cover it up with some other stuff.
But that's not his. That's not his kilo, though, man. Yeah. That's not his style, man. And you know what's
he's out there doing that, and the Democratic vice president is out wearing Timbs, and we applauded her for wearing some. I mean, she didn't even have butters on, and folks is going crazy that this motherfucker had Timbs on. Like, yo, she had the Timbs on that's on the bottom rack in the back of the fucking store, and y'all giving her.
They weren't even the lady Timbs.
The worst.
You know what I'm saying? They weren't even the lady Timbs.
You are the why are you the worst?
They weren't.
But he's doing that, and she's doing that, and we going crazy over Timbs when this dude is trying to literally rip any sort of education. Y'all excited about fucking Timbs? Maybe she should have had hot sauce in our bag. That would have been the trifecta.
No, but I think man, I think that it's because at this stage, with everything we've been going through with this president, we are grasping at glimpses of normacy, of happiness. Because this dude has, let's keep it all the way funky. Now, it's not like it's something brand new. This dude has really wrecked the way Americans look at America. If at any point we were thinking, if at any point in this country we thought that we were, I guess, on the way to amend, right? I think it was immediately after Obama was elected. And we see how that pendulum swung to the opposite end. And now I don't think you've ever seen people, at least probably not since the 50s, this divisive in the country towards one another. And we're talking about, at least in the 50s and 60s, that was a racial division. Now we're talking about party and race and gender lines in this country. And I won't say that he was the catalyst of it all. He didn't cause it, but he sure as hell exacerbated that shit. Like, no bullshit.
Sure.
I don't know, man.
Again, let's reiterate what I stated in the beginning.
We know. We said fuck Trump. We
okay, but you got to say his whole name, though.
Okay, my bad. Fuck Donald Trump. My
yeah.
I think one of the more another interesting statistic actually is that they said immediately after the death of George Floyd, I think at the end of June, they said more Americans were likely to say that they supported the protests, the Black Lives Matter protests, right? And to show you how effective Donald Trump has been in his messaging, that those numbers have almost flip-flopped. They said
Yes.
that more people are likely to say that the protests are riots and not protests, and that they are not inclined to support these riots. Even though technically, let's keep it funky, nothing has really changed since the end of May when George Floyd was killed. It's
Not
still
till
the
the next
same
time.
people in the streets, still the same. I mean, anyway, I just found that interesting.
I don't want anybody to look at any numbers right now. No polls
Why?
on where he is, and particularly where white
I get you. I get you. I get you.
him. Don't
get
do
you.
it to yourself. Don't even do it. Get some
So you don't
rest
believe
tonight.
any of the polls right now at all?
Oh, I believe it. I believe white evangelicals are going to vote for Donald Trump all over again.
They're still at
mass.
89%. Yeah, they're still at 89%.
And fuck them too. Go ahead.
There goes the last two white nisters that we had. All right, L, why don't you go ahead and pick it up from there, man?
This story right here, man, has so many layers to it, bro. So much to it. For months now, we have been yelling out for justice for Breonna Taylor, who was a victim of white police terrorism when white cops ran up into her home with a no-knock warrant, and we know how the story goes from there. The sister lost her life, had her life taken violently. Well, just a couple of days ago, the city of Louisville settled with Breonna Taylor's family in what is being lauded as being a historical settlement. It was a $12 million settlement paid out by the city of Louisville. It is the city of Louisville's largest payout. Now, pay attention to that statement right there. It is their largest payout. You know what that means? There was other motherfucking payouts. The settlement also requires police commanders to approve all search warrants that are submitted to a judge. The city also agreed to hire more mental health experts and pair them with officers who respond to calls. The settlement does not include an admission of wrongdoing by the city or the police officers in the raid.
Yeah.
It does not. The proposed reforms treat Breonna Taylor's death as a tragic mistake instead of being in response to the current state of the criminal justice system. Okay? The police officer who busted into 26-year-old ER Tech's house and killed her while she was sleeping will not pay a motherfucking penny. In no way, shape, or form. Now, again, I'm all for black folks getting the bag. I'm all for us getting our justice. And I'm not in any way, shape, or form. My comments right now will not be in any shape or form disparaging towards Breonna Taylor's family. As someone who is currently seeking justice for his own family for the death of his own brother, I understand the grief and the tragedy behind such a horrific loss. But these motherfuckers got to pay. This in and of itself is disgusting. It is disgusting. Because here's the thing. The city of Louisville is not paying a motherfucking dime. The city of Louisville came up with a settlement. But you know who's paying the motherfucking settlement?
Taxpayers.
You motherfuckers who live in Louisville paying that.
Taxpayers.
Some of the very people, the taxpayers who are out there right now protesting are the very people who are going to be paying for this injustice. Louisville in June increased the police budget from $189 million to $191 million. In June 2020, they increased the police budget. Okay, here's the kicker. Still, 49% of the city's budget is devoted to police and corrections.
Jesus Christ.
49% of the
49%
of the city's budget.
Damn near 50% of the city's budget is devoted. And these motherfuckers is just now hiring mental health people? You just now saying that the captain and the commanders have to be involved in search warrants. You were just now doing it. And when I
think
had
you need to reiterate that, man, that almost half of the budget is spent on policing and keeping people in jail.
Bro. And here's the thing that I wanted people to really pay attention to. This is the city's largest payout.
By a magnitude of $4 million. Yeah, they have never paid anything this much before.
They've paid out before. This is not the first time Louisville has been under a microscope where they've had to pay out large. And the fact that Breonna Taylor's murder has to become the most historic. All these media companies coming out and say this is a historic settlement. No, motherfucker, this is still a tragedy of unseen proportions, man. This shit is disgusting. And I think
you need to be specific about it too, man. I think that it's the biggest payout for wrongful death, one, for Louisville, and two, that's been paid out to a black person. Okay.
To a black female specifically. Go ahead.
I think it's a black person, period, because I don't know any other wrongful death that's been passed. Are you sure?
No, I'm agreeing. That's a mute point. But
the reason why I say that is because not too long ago, there was a white woman in Minnesota that was killed by a police officer, and her family got over $20 million in wrongful death because of it. So I think one of the biggest points from this man is that, like Elgin already said, this is not an admission of guilt. No. The criminal suit is still, and let's take a step back, because I know that there have been a lot of people that have been up in arms about the family taking a settlement, as though the settlement affects the criminal suit, which it does not.
It's not a connection at all.
There's no connection whatsoever. So the city feeling the necessity, and I use that term loosely, the necessity to pay the family what they've paid them has nothing to do with the justice that they're seeking. And they said it during their press conference. They said they wanted to make sure it was very clear, whether they gave us 12 million or they gave us 100 million, we want these dudes in jail. And I can't fault them, because this payout is not justice for them. No. I don't know anyone that would look for that type of payout if you knew that you had to lose a loved one to be able to get it. No. Now we're sitting here 7 months after the fact, almost
7. Yep.
And David Cameron, I believe that's his name, Daniel Cameron, I apologize, who's the attorney general for Kentucky. This is in his hands right now. But I'm not expecting too much from this young man, because it's been in his hands for quite some time. But I will say this. Apparently, they've placed evidence towards a grand jury this week, and apparently they're going to have the results of the grand jury possibly the beginning or middle of next week. So we'll see what happens from there. But I'm not putting too much into it. I'm not putting too much into it because he's an understudy of Mitch McConnell, who has already come out publicly and said that he did not believe that the police officers did anything wrong, and that within the power of what they're supposed to be doing, that, you know, things happen. Like, he really just kind of justified, as tragic as it is, justified the murder of this young woman. And he's not the only person, though.
Oh no,
I know that you guys hate him, because I listen to him on occasion so I can get a look into the mind of a black conservative, Jason Whitlock. And he's now he has something on a new channel now, because, you know, he got let go from Fox not too long ago. But he has something that he's doing, and he talked for almost an hour, basically blaming Breonna Taylor and her boyfriend for her murder. The reason why I'm kind of at a loss for words is because Jason Whitlock is not the only black person that feels this way. I don't know what to say about it, man. But we need to figure something out. We need justice to happen for Breonna Taylor and her family. Hopefully, Daniel Cameron will figure this out. Hopefully, the riots in the streets and all these protests will light a fire under his ass. But I'm not holding my breath, man. I'm not holding my breath.
It's not going to happen.
What do you? Okay, let's take a step back and let's ask the question, $1 million question. Do you think that it's going? What do you think the results of the grand jury is going to be? Do you think it's actually going to go to trial, or do you think they're going to say, "Nah, this happened in the what do they call it? Qualified immunity, that it's going to just be, chalk it up.
I do not think the grand jury will push this and send this to trial. I believe when that news comes out, Louisville will burn.
What about you, Crush?
No, I don't think it's going to trial.
You don't think it's going to trial?
No.
I think that it will go to trial, but like many of these cases, I don't think that there's going to be much effort placed into setting the jury properly, into making sure all of the evidence is open and out there.
Absolutely
I think that it's going to be very unusual. And let's keep it all the way funky, man. I think many of us thought that when George Zimmerman went to trial, that was supposed to be open and shut.
Open and shut, slam dunk.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that when Eric Garner's case went to trial, I thought that was supposed to be
slam dunk.
We had the video, for God's sakes.
Video.
Slam dunk.
Then the white supremacy was like, no.
I don't know, my guy. I'm just kind of at my wit's end at this point, man. Like, we're talking about mental health before, like we said, man. I just watching this and hearing this type of stuff day in and day out, man, it takes a toll, man.
Yeah,
it
drains the soul. It drains the soul.
I want people to begin to ask some questions when they see these settlements, man. Go to your own city council, ask them what type of police brutality payout insurance system do they have for their. Every police department probably has some sort of police brutality insurance.
Yep.
Ask your city how much that is. And I'm almost guarantee you that if I knew the data, I'm almost guarantee you that Louisville's insurance was less than $2 million. Now the question has to be asked at that point in time, where'd that other 10 come from? Where is this money coming from? And I'm telling you, when you go down that fucking rabbit hole,
there's a large number of people making money off the back of this nonsense.
Making
hell yeah.
millions off of this, bro.
This money. But the banks have to be involved because somebody has to pay it.
Oh, these cities are getting these money from these banks. And these banks are making millions off of black bodies dying.
But the only thing that's going to really change this thing, man, to be very honest with you, and I think we've already alluded to it anyway, is to make sure that the funds for these wrongful death suits are coming straight from these police officers' pensions and the union dues or these union monies. That's the only way this is going to change. Because when you know that your retirement is at stake, if you do the wrong thing, or that the funds that you're supposed to be getting in the next year or the year after that to fund the police and to operate appropriately is going to be shortened because you filed or had to file too many wrongful death suits, or not even just wrongful death. I mean, they make settlements for a bunch of different things where there's abuse in the streets and all that stuff. So, I think
sexual assault.
The Fraternal Order of Police, bruh.
Those police unions,
powerful organization in this country.
Those police unions are insane. They are insane.
They are the mob with a
old money
army on their side.
Old ass money. Old ass money.
Parts about that, and I'm kind of wondering how. I think one of the questions that we need to ask also, and I commend Breonna Taylor's family and Benjamin Crump for forcing policy to be a social, because this is the first time that that's ever been done. I've never heard of it being done before, and I don't think if it is done, I don't think it's done commonly, right?
Right.
Forcing policy to be attached to this payout. Now, we can argue all day long about whether the policy is effective or how effective it ultimately will be. But this is the first time I'm seeing it. But one of the things that got me was the fact that they said they're going to now pay police officers or incentivize police officers to live in the communities that they police. You just said that they increased the budget by another $3 million in June.
Yeah.
And now you're going to incentivize these same police to live in the communities that they're supposed to be living in anyway. I don't understand how you can live an hour away, 3 towns down, and then come and police folks in that neighborhood. It doesn't make any sense to me. I think Trevor Noah said it best. He's like, it's just like having a president governing over a country that he doesn't live in. It doesn't really make any sense. But that was one of the things I did not like about the policies that they put in. I was like, why would you incentivize these police to do that?
Because it's normal for them to live wherever the hell they want.
I don't know. Maybe it's a lot, man. It's a lot. All right. Right about now is the time when we'd like to give you little tidbits of news or words of wisdom for you to take with yourself into the week. So, Crush, what's up, man?
Well, I came across something very interesting. Apparently, Seth MacFarlane and Norman Lear and Stephen Curry are going to be launching. We're going to be relaunching an animated version of Good Times.
What?
And yeah, they're going to be they're going to be launching, and it's still in production apparently, and it's going to be on Netflix, and they're getting a 10-episode order. I have mixed feelings about this, even though certain people from Boondocks and Black Dynamite are involved.
Are going to be working on it with them?
Yeah, certain folks are involved, but I still have mixed feelings about this though. But especially about Norman Lear in general. But
why?
I mean, considering his track record with what he tried to do in the 70s and what he ended up doing, there's a dark side to that whole history that he had with black actors and everything. But yeah, I mean, but still, it's interesting that he's bringing this back as an animated property.
L, what's up, man?
Just going back to the white privilege narrative, man. I think we might have discussed it briefly, how Steve Nash was able to get the head coaching position at the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah.
He is now the head coach. He signed a 4-year contract with the Brooklyn Nets to become the head coach. There was a ton of backlash, a ton of concern and issues because Steve Nash has never coached in any capacity anywhere. But many people are saying that since he has some sort of relationship with KD and KD had to sign off, yada, yada, yada. But that's not my issue. I think that's bullshit. But I think bigger than that is, Steve Nash came out and he attempted to address white privilege. He came out and said, literally, there are times where I've benefited from white privilege. But none of the reporters asked them, did you benefit from it right now to get this job in Brooklyn?
Did you think that?
Knowing that you benefited from white privilege, if you're supposed to be some sort of ally, as you stated, is it your responsibility to say no? Somebody exposes your white privilege.
See all this half stepping.
Probably have turned that job down, knowing that the white privilege got you the job. Get the fuck out of here, Steve.
All this fucking half stepping, man. All this half stepping, man. I hate this. Can't stand these.
Well, what's up for me this week, man, is former WNBA superstar Maya Moore.
Shut up, leave Maya alone.
Listen. I thought it was an interesting story. This woman put her career on hold to fight for injustice and to free wrongly incarcerated people. And she fought for the past, I think, 4 or 5 years now to free a young man by the name of Jonathan Irons.
She was fighting for a high school sweetheart.
Jonathan Irons was that's why I can't stand you. Jonathan Irons was released from prison earlier this year after a judge said that, the prosecutors hid evidence during the trial that would have freed him in the first place. He spent 20 years in jail out of a 50-year bid that he was supposed to.
That's a long-ass honeymoon,
boy. Long ass goddamn time.
Back.
He got out of jail now. He's 40 years old.
No wonder Maya's smiling like that these days.
So now, bottom line is Maya Moore and Jonathan Irons they just got married.
She's
and I
pregnant.
Thought that was.
She's pregnant right now.
Congratulations.
I wouldn't doubt it. But I just thought that it was interesting that there's a lot of
found love.
There's a lot of people talking. Said she left the real world and had to find her man incarcerated in jail. What does that say for the rest of the niggas in the street?
Man, there's a whole show about it.
I was going to say.
Hold up.
Have you watched Oz?
I'm talking about love after lockup, folks.
Nigga, I hate you so goddamn much.
But
I don't know if I can hate anybody more than you right now, man.
Oz works too.
Listen, man. I watched Oz. That was my shit.
Oz was very traumatizing. Oz scared me straight, my guy. Oz scared me straight. I didn't want to do nothing illegal after watching Oz, my guy.
Man, the key word being
Shout
straight.
out to Maya Moore, man. For real. Shout out.
Yeah, no joke.
Man,
no joke.
I wish them nothing but success in their marriage.
And from what I've heard, even though she helped to get this man out of prison, this is not going to stop her efforts to have other wrongfully incarcerated people released from jail as well. So she's still pushing it forward and trying to do the right thing. So
nice.
Maya Moore's going to be in the WNBA next year. Don't worry about it.
You think so?
Oh yeah, bro.
From what I was reading, it seemed like she was pretty much inclined to say her career was done. She's whatever. She's going to be a social justice warrior from here on out.
Wow. She playing or she gonna be pregnant? One of the two. One of the two things is gonna be happening.
God damn L, where can these people find you if they want to find your monkey ass, man? God damn it.
Says it right there. At Eldridge Bailey. I mean, damn shit. Y'all can recatch.
This is mean ass.
Oh my god.
You see, this is the reason why we still get hate mail. We need to figure something out.
Oh my
Crush. God. Where can people find you if they want to find you, man?
Please, everyone, check out my my interview with my fam from this past Wednesday on my Instagram account at SP Methods. Had a great time.
Yes.
Had a great time recounting my whole history. Behind the boards. Yeah, holla at me.
No doubt. And I'm big Mr. In the Black himself. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and all that other stuff at MR_in the Black. And I want to thank you guys.
All that other stuff. Boy, if you don't put your shit out there, stop playing.
Hey,
you only get two places. Two places that you know of, sir. The baby oil is sitting right there for when this camera goes on, because we're going to do. It's a whole nother show. Put your OnlyFans out there, bro. Listen.
I know, man.
Bro, times is hard.
I know you got a bag of bonnets back there.
Auntie, that's where all the baby oil is going to. Anyway, I'm Mr. In the Black, MR_ at In the Black. I want to thank you guys for joining us for another episode of the In the Black podcast. No. We really appreciate it. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you chose to be with us, and we really appreciate it. If you want to get your comments and emails shared on the show, of course, hit us up at intheblackpodcast@gmail.com and follow us across social media at In the Black PDCST on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And as always, informed, intelligent, in the black.
In the black.
Peace.
Peace.